Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Splatoon LAN Championship Showdown. My name is FalcoFlyer, joined here with Saf and Popgun, getting ready for the losers finals. We have seen quite the matches so far across 4 streams, including this one, but we are down to 1 concurrent stream. 3 teams remaining, Glub, Prickly Pear, facing off in the losers bracket. Saf, how are you doing today?
I've been waiting months for this event through grueling hours of making t-shirts for all of the TOs, through the wonderful event that was Sea Battle Royale. Yeah, love you for that. And it's great to finally be here on Sunday night. And I asked Popgun to wear suit and tie with me, and so we kind of have a nice little outfit exchange going on. I was going to say,
Popgun, this is very different from how you dressed from Ludi tonight last night when you were the Mario Party cowboy outfit. So you look good. You look good, by the way.
Thank you.
How have you been enjoying the tournament so far?
I've been enjoying it a lot. Obviously, you have too. I think you've been 0-3 versus your voice right now. And you might need to be attacking a bottle of honey and some hot tea while we get set up for this next set. But I'm doing good. Yeah, I'll have a lot to say tomorrow, let's say that. But obviously, we got a lot to say tonight.
Perfect. Well, I'll let you two commentate the games. I'll just be here to introduce everybody. Let's take a look at the bracket one more time as these 2 teams face off. Again, this is going to be the losers finals between Glub and Prickly Pear. They face off against each other in the winners semis. Prickly Pear getting that 3-0 victory over Glub. Glub making that 6-0 run in the losers bracket, but now facing a team that they are going to try and run it back against here, Saf, Prickly Pear, but we know how strong they are.
Yeah, Prickly Pear, if it hasn't been mentioned before, 3 of the 4 folks actually placed first at Sea Battle, where Sea Bubble placed, ultimately. And so Prickly Pear, with the substitution of Blopwer into the mix over Nico, it's going to be an interesting bout between Glub and Prickly Pear, and especially given the fact that Sea Bubbles had to fight Glub twice, had a better chance the second go around, but unfortunately getting knocked down and taking 4th in the overall thing. But Popgun, any questions, comments, concerns? Obviously Glub now trying to come back and take another fight to push their way back into the winner sides of things, and we do have counter picking on the table. Yeah, curious to know thoughts, questions, comments, concerns, compliments even.
I don't have any compliments. I do have some concerns for the idiots in chat that are being a little too excited about the fact that I'm wearing a suit. I'm married, by the way. You missed the boat on this by about 20 years or so. Sucks to suck. The other thing I do want to say is give a shout out to Boston 2. I guess as they call themselves New York 1 for what they've been accomplishing so far, and Glub representing Big Dapple. They haven't found a way to get a win against this team yet. They got swept out by Prickly Pear 3-0 earlier in this tournament. I believe that was on SplatoonTourney 4 or 5 or something like that. I don't know, but you can go back and watch the VOD
actually.
Of that. Were you the one streaming it? Is that
yes, on SplatoonTourney 4, represent. Shout out Rose and Rocket.
So give us the shout. It's a 3-0 sweep. And it was a close 3-0. Was it a close 3-0, or was this like a little brother getting noogied kind of moment?
I think little brother getting noogied kind of moment. Still could put up a fight, but not quite. I guess like walk the walk, if you will.
Well, these are players who aren't used to being little brothered. Keen says, "Good morning, good morning." Complimented with Moonlight's own Nolan, who is not going to be using Kraken this time around as we get into game 1.
They've already have been using Kraken throughout the day, so I honestly, on the first go-around, they're taking a little bit of a break of pulling out the S-Blast, though. But you do have Funky Eevee on the consistent pick of the Carbon Roller, which constantly I see them choosing whenever they come into Sea Battle. And so I'm wondering, actually, Popgun, I have never seen Prickly Pear play. I've always been really familiar with the playstyle of Pico de Gallo with the addition of Nico. And so having Blopwer into the mix here, I'm wondering how Sunset Surge folks are going to fare. But as it seems, taking check right now.
Well, it makes them extra prickly. Look at that. They got 2 chargers, if you want to consider a bamboozler a charger. I guess technically it is. But none of that really matters. This is Eevee's bread and butter. Mako Mart with Carbon Roller seems almost like cheating, especially in the hands of a player who's been using this weapon for a long time. Pepe also on the splatter shot because somebody's got to be on the splatter shot right now. Things looking really good for Prickly Pear. They got a huge control of the zone. They're about to lose it though. Yes, but do Glub realize that Pepe is sharking back there?
I'm going to go ahead and say no, because now that Pepe's made his presence known, immediately the members of Glub are trying to collapse in and get him out of there, which they do successfully. Even though there's a little bit of blue on the zone, Big Dapple is still holding pretty strong here. And especially I want to say shout out to Keen as they go down right in front of me there. Shout out to their bubble for continuing this hold from a little bit earlier now. But it seems to me that Prickly Pear is kind of keen onto what's going on. However, no pain on the zone by them, as Big Dapple is still going to maintain control.
Well, here we go. 2 players get glumped somehow. New York, are you okay? Can we check in on that? I'm assuming, I mean, like any rule, any tournament would typically say if you get under 50, that's a KO right there. But I'm pretty sure I don't know, maybe they'll get a replay out of that. But that was awkward. 2 players leaving at the same time. First off, let's check the weather in New York. Everything going on good there. No, like,
I know. Pull out your weather app. Pull out your weather app.
Let's see. We'll check that first off, and then the second thing we'll do is make sure everybody's okay, and then whoever the TOs are for this event can realize or can make a call on what happened right there, because both teams were technically below 50, so no clue how that's going to play out.
Right, below 50 in terms of points, but still within the 2-minute mark, I guess, before games, as some disconnect rules are played out. So it's like you said, only time will tell what the TOs kind of want to do with a disconnection rule, whether they want to go by game time or they want to go by actual timer standards. I guess we'll find out, but it still was a close match nonetheless. It was literally 1 point away, and just a little bit of a penalty keeping the folks of of Prickly Pear at bay to try to flip the lead. So kind of an interesting time for a DC to happen, kind of a new start on life, if you will.
We're looking at a clear night over New York, a wonderful, brisk 56 degrees. That is Fahrenheit. They had a high of 60, a low of 49 today. Feels like 48 though, but nothing that should be affecting anybody's routers as we're going into this. Keep in mind, I'm hearing rumors that the next LCS is actually going to take place at Falco's house. He's secretly building a LAN facility without his family
can confirm, I
realizing
checked.
it. So the next one is actually going to be like a summit that's going to be taking place. But for now, we're stuck playing online. We're replaying game 1, by the way. Everybody appears back into the lobby for now. Hopefully it stays that way going forward.
I would really like to know who is on the council for the Splatoon Summit. I would assume you would be there, but you wouldn't be like one of the main chairs in the middle of the summit. You would be like off to the side. You know what I mean?
No.
That's fine. You don't have to understand. But from what I'm understanding right now, we're kind of 15 seconds into the game here. Cooler has been popped by the folks of Glub and Control being taken first.
Ah, the tactical DC. Look at them coming back out here, taking the lead early in game 1, and they're getting control of the zone. I see you, Glub. Nice work. Bend every rule to your favor, and it's working out for them right now. But here come the chumps that are going to do something, I'm assuming. But it is going to push everybody else back, so the Sunset Surge Prickly Pear team. Balloon says, nah, I'm going to hold on to these ink strikes. I'm going to join my friends back at spawn. I'm not going to get splatted like the rest of them did. Prickly Pear getting back into control of this thing. They'll take the lead as well.
Well, Chump certainly did something, because not only is Sunset Surge taking the lead, but they have a firm hold on mid and allowing safe passage for Pepe and Blopware to kind of push forward and see what they can try to get on the ledge. But unfortunate for Pepe going down right below the ledge. That's going to make an opening for Keen and Nilla to come in, especially with the bubbler as collateral. And now finally, that's Big Dapple putting their foot back down on the zone here. But with 2 members going down and double Trizuka, that's a wipeout for Prickly Pear.
Well, we are not allowed to get excited about Trizuka plays, but that was a quad. going against Glub here. And what's the play to go with right here? How about Nolan getting a nice double that's going to work out into their favor? Keen's going to start attacking Shiny, but Shiny says, nah, I'm not a damsel in distress with the pencil. I'm going to get the splat, even though I'm going to lose control of the zone. Taking up residence on the left side of the map right there. So nicely done. You know, Glub might be the lower seeded team. They might be the team that's kind of struggling to get into this one, but they got some real monsters on this roster, including Nolan, who can take over a game if they just start heating up in the right way.
Totally. And I think, though, the folks on Sunset Surge have been really cooking with the, like, this whole LCS turn or tour run, if you will, Popgun, because I mean, Shiny and Pepe have been working together for a very long time. Shiny being the one who's won most of the locals on the West Coast, has won almost every single, actually has won every single local on the West Coast. Now trying to come and stake their claim onto the LCS Showdown with a lot of their same friends that they've been doing it with. And with PRICKLY PEAR now dwindling away their penalty. They have 3 members up in mid, a lot of subs being thrown out too. Nolan sure is feeling the heat from that as they're kind of suspended in this left-hand side, but with the cooler coming out, hopefully that's going to be Big Dapple breaking out, but I'm not sure, Popgun. Now that penalty is gone, it's looking to me like PRICKLY PEAR's feeling pretty comfortable in the midsection.
And they got a Zuka to work with as well, wrestling the zone back and forth. The Zuka gets shut down. Keen gets eliminated, but it's not in time. PRICKLY PEAR doesn't get the lead, and now you got a great situation for Nolan, who's using a weapon we're not really used to seeing out of Nolan as well. We're used to seeing Kraken, we're used to seeing a 96. I mean, back in the day, we used to see Pro as well. I think we've seen Nolan use like Range Blaster before, but never the S Blast. But so far, it seems to be working out into their favor, getting some soda in them as well. If they can start pushing up and take the fight to PRICKLY PEAR, maybe they can find a way to hold on to this lead.
Yeah, and with Pepe kind of coming in to try to pinch Nolan away from the middle section. They do give up the chase, though, but that Keen coming in on the center stage and taking out Funky Eevee, and also looking in to try to take the stack as well, but with Shiny being in a good position to try to cover Pepe, that is Keen going down in the fight. But still, a decent penalty on the folks at PRICKLY PEAR, and no end in sight for the push from Big Dapple.
They got to start pushing up. They got to find ways to start activating their players in the upper side there. How do you not get that splat? Wow, you landed like 5 or 6 shots on that player, but instead it's not going to be enough. But they're doing the right things. They're starting to take the fight to PRICKLY PEAR. They don't want them to sit up and build up their specials, and it might be the reason they get the KO right here. Nolan trying to land a splat on one of these players, juking all over them, isn't able to land it. Maybe if they get that splat, this game is over, but it's still PRICKLY PEAR staying alive in this one at least a little bit longer. Nolan not able to escape that trade.
Yeah, an unfortunate trade coming out for the folks of Big Dapple, but this is a moment where they can afford the trade to happen, but also you don't want to be caught on the back foot by the folks of PRICKLY PEAR. That's Eevee going down on the right stack there. There's Balloon trying to follow up and take Pepe, but Pepe is successful in that fight. That's 2 members of Big Dapple going down, with Nolan being successful in taking out the onslaught from Pepe. That's only 3 members of PRICKLY PEAR to hold on as we enter overtime here. The Booyah Bomb, though, is not going to really cover much in the back zone, so Keen has to launch that bubble with the tri-strikes. That's Glub holding it down in the last second, taking us into game 2.
They got swept out in the winner's side this time around, able to take game 1. Doing a very nice job weathering the storm right there. Just had a huge lead and was able to do just enough to hold on to it. So for a team that's been, how long has Glub been in the loser side? This is their 3rd match, and they have yet to drop a single game. They're now 7-0 in the loser side of things, so they're basically in home court advantage right now, taking on PRICKLY PEAR, who is just coming off a 3-1 loss to My Little Hinlow. So this could be a case of snowball going down the hill or whatever and building up steam, a lot of momentum at their backs. But this is counterpick. So PRICKLY PEAR can just be like, hey, you know that one map we kicked their butts at earlier? Let's just pick that again and see how well they do.
Yeah, and I feel like this is the moment for PRICKLY PEAR to really experiment with the counter pick that they want to choose. And like you said, trying to go into something that they feel is tried and true and that they won on before. Maybe we can try to find a counterbalance to what's going on the side of Glub. I do want to say though, I'm glad to see that My Little Henlo was not given being the #1 seed in the tournament, being given the free ride to just try to make their way into grand finals. Like Prickly Pear did take one game off of them. I don't want to see any perfect records, okay? Like, that's not what I'm here for.
Okay, well, you don't have to see that anymore because everybody has taken AL. And by the way, everybody did win at least one game, which is impressive, including the 8th seed taking a game off the #1 seed, My Little Henlo. The counter pick is in. It is Mahi Mahi Resorts, Splat Zones edition. Shiny is probably super thrilled that they were able to use, that they're able to go to this map. Now the question is, are they going to stick with this chump kind of comp that they've been using so far? For some reason, I've been seeing chump a lot on the SplatoonTourney channel at a higher level of play. I'm not going to read too much into that, but who knows? It is still Splat Zones we're seeing a game 2 as well with the counter pick.
Well, it still does raise a question mark, but the other thing I want to take notice of here is the amount of reach that the pencil has from Shiny. Kind of in that first replay, you could see all 3 members of Prickly Pear that were not Shiny, like up and in the zone, not even painting the zone, but Shiny's shots were literally going right over top of them, just in a line. Perfectly placed, very intentionally placed to try to keep zone coverage in favor of Prickly Pear. So I just want to shout out the supportive ability that Shiny has on the pencil, because not only are they throwing paint down on the feet of their teammates, but they're also going in and trying to reach for kills as they can and as they see fit, which I feel gives Prickly Pear a pretty decent advantage to have somebody with the game sense like Shiny. However, on the side of Glub, I mean, it was like you were saying before, Nolan, this is a very not conventional pick for Nolan, not something that we normally see. Normally, and especially today, a lot of the time we've seen Nolan picking up the Kraken on the 96 Gal, and so Nolan was also kind of a force to be reckoned with on that Splatzones game. So are they going to stay with something like the S-Blast, or they don't want to change into something different, maybe something that they are a little bit more cozy in? And as they do, that is going to be the 96 Gal Deco chosen by Nolan. So Kraken gameplay is on the table.
Breathe, Sap. Take a breath right there, because we did just see a vanilla bamboozler coming in as well with Killer Whale. So the chumps have been chumped. They didn't make it into game 2, but really the reason that we see Prickly Pear counter-picking this, they can get Pencil into a great position on this map. They can find ways to get EV activated, who is using the fighting toothbrush. So we got a decab versus TCab situation going on here, but that is Nolan, who is able to use their tried and true 96 Deco, getting the Kraken out here. And when that map starts lowering, when somebody gets enough points for it to lower, that Kraken's got a ton of room to work with, and that's going to work out even better into Glub's favor.
Yeah, and I like to see that Glub already has taken the lead very early in the game, though. We still have so much time left to spare here. Nolan trying to follow up on the left-hand side. That's Pepe going in, not only taking Nolan, but a trade into Nilla, but it's going to open enough space for Sunset Surge to come back into the fray and actually cancel out 3 different people from getting their cooler. Are you seeing that? There it goes.
No, I wasn't seeing it. What happened? Somebody got a cooler out?
No, 3 people didn't get any juice. They actually got robbed of their money.
Dude, sometimes you just shake the vending machine, something will come out of it. It might not be what you ordered, but right now it's exactly what Prickly Pear is trying to order right here, holding on to control the zone. The map does lower though, and if you're Prickly Pear, this is whoa, wow, okay. This is the opportunity to get the KO, and you want to hold on to it, and Funky EV is not wasting any time with that. However, they're not able to start pushing up, so Glub's got some room to build up some specials. Nolan's got all this terrain to roll with this Kraken that's going to chase some players away, and instead it's just going to kind of... Where are we going with this Kraken right here?
To me, it seemed like Nolan really couldn't find their mark of who they were looking for until the very end. But unfortunate for them with coming out of that Kraken, that's a 3 versus 1 scenario on the left-hand side. So Sunset Surge still sitting pretty with the zone in 10 unit marks remaining here. And especially with that Sprinkler, shout out Sprinkler holding up that side, but still with 3 members down of Glub, that's going to be Prickly Pear locking it in for game number 2.
Counter pick working out into their favor. I was kind of confused what the plan was with that cracking. I mean, you had all that room to work with. I think they realized that their teammates were under attack and they went back to help. And by the time they got there, 2 of them were already down. And at that point, it's like, okay, well, this special's gone. Our teammates eliminated. That's pretty much GG right there. We're going to have to move on to the next game. And so be it. You know, this is how counter picks work. If you're glub, you shouldn't be too worried because you did win game 1. So you technically have like quote unquote home field advantage from here on out. All you got to do is win on your counter picks. Easier said than done, I know. But that's all you got to do. And then you can just go on and beat My Little Henlo in grand finals, and then we all go to bed.
Well, some of us go to bed. Some of us are in Eastern Standard Time. Some of us aren't. So some of us might stay up and reflect on the choices that were made for LCS, for SplatoonTourney. Perhaps we'll think of a fonder time when we were dressed as the Mario Party 2 cowboy outfit from nights before. By the way,
for the idiots in chat that were calling for Bluefin to be counterpicked, I do want to point out, I am looking at the match chat right now. They did actually try to counterpick Bluefin, but Saf, being the Scrooge that she is, denied it and said, no, nobody in chat wants to watch that match. So we're not going to allow you to play that. You have to pick something else. So that's how we got to this point right here. The players want to entertain you. It's the folks behind the scenes that are holding y'all back from greatness right now.
Bah humbug. No Bluefin.
Boo,
up with bubbles.
Saf,
Down
boo.
with air. Boo. Bah humbug. No Bluefin. Nothing that the players want is okay. Everything is in my rules because it's my universe.
Exactly. We all just exist in it. I mean, I'm only wearing like something that looks pretty decent because you told me to. So
I didn't even tell you to. I just asked, and you were like, "Fine, I'll wear something nice."
That is not well that went at all.
And I was like, "Okay, girl."
You did say that, and that caught me off guard. But I just rolled.
It's like, "Okay, girl,
By the way,
do you."
Y'all are gonna have to just roll with Rainmaker at. Hold it. Wait for it.
Undertow.
Rainmaker at Undertow. That is where we're going at here with Game 3, the only Rainmaker map that you can put in a map list without people crying about it. And even then, some people cry about it, so that's where we're at right now. What changes are we going to be seeing? Now, this is Glub picking this, and they're probably saying, like, okay, you can't use pencil and bamboo for Rainmaker, right? Like, you can't. That's against some sort of mindset rules here. And by the way, Rainmaker is the one mode these two teams did not play against each other earlier. Splat Zones at Umami Ruins, Clan Blitz at Art Academy, and Tower Control at Hagglefish were the 3 games played earlier on the winter side. All 3, of course, going to Prickly Pear. So Big Dapple's probably thinking, well, I bet you guys can't play Rainmaker, so let's try that.
Well, it seems to me that Glub just needed a little bit more time to warm up against Prickly Pear. And I believe based on team survey, if you will, Glub was really looking forward to fighting Prickly Pear. My Little Henlo, of course, as well. But I think that Prickly Pear was kind of at the top of their list for trying to take a fight in this tournament. And so I'm enjoying the fact that the first go-around was hard, but then the second go-around is actually going much better. And so finding Glub on the counter-picking situation with picking Undertow, I really like to see that. And I like to see them struggle a little bit. I want to see like Prickly Pear sweat a little bit because they have been so dominant in this tournament so far. And just in other different locals that they've attended, they've been so dominant on the West Coast. And so having a run for their money by the folks at Big Dapple, I'm happy to see Big Dapple kind of coming out swinging really hard in the second go-around. And Keen switching in to the Wiper there. Love to see that.
Yeah, Keen, not afraid to get their hands dirty. Using an aggressive weapon. Gonna be using hammer as well. Probably not super thrilled, but probably was expecting the edit to make an appearance. But you know what? When the other team's all gone, it doesn't really matter what their comp is. You can just kind of scroll on over to that left check mark. And now Glub's in a great situation to where they can get a huge lead right off the back here. Eevee sharking in the littlest, tiniest of inks, able to get the splat onto the Rainmaker, but it costs their own life in the process. Shiny throwing down some soda, but they don't have a lot of resources left defensively. Nolan providing a lot of jumps back here and trying to build up another crack and gets a splat onto Pepe. This push isn't over yet, Seth.
No, it's not, and even with Shiny throwing down the juice there, it hasn't been quite enough. That's Blopper trying to help him out on the side, and you can see that Balloon was looking in to see what they could get, and taking Shiny off of that top part is major. That allowed safe passage for Nilla to get down to the 6-smart pop gun. It's still not over.
Well, it is
okay.
now.
Well, okay, breathe.
But the problem here is Prickly Pear's comp isn't exactly designed to be super aggressive on Rainmaker. They seems like they have a little bit more of a defensive comp, so they're going to have to find ways to get some splats with Nolan being the person holding on to the Rainmaker right now. That's probably not the ideal situation, as the Bamboo isn't able to ledge camp right there. I think Eevee might have switched bodies with them. I don't know what they were trying to accomplish there, but still, this is a huge mountain to climb up, and they don't really have the best comp to do it. 3 minutes though. It's Rainmaker. Anything can happen, I guess.
I think if Prickly Pear is to play a little bit more patiently and try to just actually pigeonhole people off into one-on-one fights, this could be the start of a story where we could see Prickly Pear try to get in and break that first checkpoint. But I think you're right. They don't really quite have the tools to take in a team fight unless they were able to get people into one-on-one versus one scenarios. But how can you do that when you have 2 members down? That's Nilla holding on to the Rainmaker, but luckily Eevee is here to respond.
Well, you do have double Zuka to work with, which is frustrating, but if you can find ways to kind of get those splats, it'll work out into your favor. Like that. What the heck was that? Okay. Pepe shooting a Zuka shot straight up to God, and it came back down and took care of that player right there, and they're going to attacking this left side. Clearing this first checkpoint, I'm assuming, is Shiny trying to paint up, but is a long way away from Soda. But yeah, if they could find ways to just get Eevee set up along that left side right there, but it was Shiny backing up, I'm assuming they're kind of retreating on this push right here, trying to just hold down mid. They said, okay, we cleared the checkpoint. That's good enough for now. We got 1:40 left to go. Keen picking up this Rainmaker, not let it reset. I think the goal right here is just to try to stall it out along that right side, bleed some time off the clock, maybe inch forward, but when somebody approaches, then they're going to jump back. This is just a delayed reset. Yeah, just jumping off right there as soon as the splat was coming in. So yeah, that was just a little bit of a, hey, we got this huge lead. Let's bleed time off the clock. Let's make sure the Rainmaker doesn't reset until we want it to reset.
But the mindfulness to try and get Eevee to waste the Trizuka on the reset was huge. However, though, Prickly Pear still, regardless of wasting that special, they still have Rainmaker in possession here. But with Nolan being on the Kraken and getting kind of pushed back by the shots from the Rainmaker, it just seems to me that they're just trying to keep the pedestal area painted as much as possible here. Eevee trying to make some headway forward, not really having a lot of safe space to do so. Hopefully the Killer Whale can cause a little bit of displacement here for the folks at Prickly Pear to try and get a first checkpoint pop. But I mean, you gotta play it patient though, because you can see that the pokes at Glub are kind of just poking versus taking kills.
The pokes from this Bamboozler is making things interesting, but Keen has a hammer against the Rainmaker. Everybody gets a free trip back to their spawn. And if you want to stall it out now, maybe you can, but Pepe's being more than annoying, taking on the entire planet right now, getting one splat, gonna be fighting Keen and Nolan at the same time. The Rainmaker just trying to make sure if I get splatted, I splat somewhere in mid. But Eevee, this is actually kind of a winning situation. If Eevee can find a way to get around that left side and start going off, the Rainmaker's going to have to be real patient, though. They got Ink Strikes, they got Kraken they're going to have to dodge. There's a whole lot of nonsense that could be thrown their way. The Rainmaker trying to stay alive. There goes Eevee. That was kind of their winning ticket. Here come the Ink Strikes. They're going to jump everybody else back for a little bit here as that Rainmaker ticks down. Here comes the Kraken that's going to force something to start moving. They're going to dodge the Kraken for now. No, they're not. They're going to Squid Surge right into it. GG 2-1
long
Big
time
Apple.
though. that was a long time to dodge Nolan. Someone who's really skilled and kind of like homing missile when it comes to using the Kraken onto their opposer. So, I mean, I don't know. Blopper kind of lasted a long time with that. But yeah, that is Big Dapple taking game number 2 or number 3, I guess, now putting themselves into a match point scenario. That's Prickly Pear on the counter pick.
Nicely done with the counter picks right here. Like I said, you win game 1, all you gotta do is win on your counter picks. You pick Rainmaker, you get a huge lead early on, maybe a little bit of a misplay by Prickly Pear to go all in to try to get that pop. Instead, it was a quick pop by Glub. They were able to clean up everybody else and get a good wipe, and then it was just steamroll. And I love the counter push as well. It wasn't the fact that they just got to the checkpoint on the opening push. They were able to keep enough players alive and enough players back to where players could take chances. You saw Keen just dive in there, grab the Rainmaker, get a few 10, 15 extra points on top of it. You saw other players just keep jumping right back in. It was death by paper cuts on that opening push, getting the 6 remaining. It doesn't really matter. Rainmaker's so hard when you have to get all the way to 5. You basically have to touch the pedestal to get back into it. Glub won that one in the opening minute and then just kind of danced around for the next 4. Nicely played by them.
Well, I guess I'm wondering, because it seems to me like the hook, line, and sinker really is getting Eevee into the proper positioning. So I guess with playing with something with like a pencil, I mean, Shiny did switch on to the heavy edit, which definitely gave a lot more paint, I guess, for Eevee to work with. But I guess would there be an additional weapon choice you'd want to throw out there? Because it seems to me that Blopper is very comfortable on the Bamboozler. We're not really going to be changing off of that. So I guess if you want to get Eevee into proper position, whether it be with Decaf or Carbon, I guess where does Shiny need to try to like compensate? Because to me, it seems like Pepe, they need to have Trizuka, and Pepe is just fine being like the constant in the constant variable in all of it with being on Trizuka.
Well, I think what you do is you pick a map that really favors your Carbon player, who I think I saw on Blue Sky earlier today, where this map and mode, Clan Blitz at Umami Ruin, someone was like, why do we play this in competitive? The answer is because we don't have many maps we can play. If we start getting rid of everything, we're just going to play best of 7 Tower Control Art Academy over and over again. But I believe it was Eevee who responded to that thread of it saying, I personally like playing there. And what a surprise, they're counter picking it right here. So, and again, this is a mode that they beat them on earlier. They won Splat Zones at Umami, and then they beat them at Clan Blitz at Art Academy. So if you like take 50% of both of those and combine them, this should be a 100% win for Prickly Pear and possibly force it.
Ideally for Prickly Pear, this would be a 100% win. But I think Glub has also really warmed up to what Prickly Pear has been trying to run with, and especially because Prickly Pear isn't really adding much nuance to what they have been playing throughout the entirety of the tournament, and including what they were playing at the LAN as well. So no changes really coming out from Prickly Pear other than that is going to be Eevee switching back to the decav. So they are having Big Bubbler, They are having a charger weapon at their arsenal, and I believe, yeah, we have Blade versus Blade.
We do. It might not be the cool sword fight you were looking for, though. One is a car wiper and the other one is a toothbrush. But, you know, this is how Splatoon works, and right now it's working out really well for Glub, who's starting to push back Prickly Pear yet again. The question is, can they strike early? Can they get this kind of huge lead they got in the last game? Shiny trying to stay alive. It's nowhere near building up enough special to get any sodas out here, but here comes the Ink Strikes and the Kraken at the same exact time to try to create some chaos. But right now they only have one Power Clam to go in there as well, so it's that awkward moment of needing the splats and the specials and everything lining up to where you have a Power Clam. There was a small window right there, 2 players going down for Prickly Pear, but 1 player left alive and everything gets shut down, so we're back to neutral.
Yeah, and unfortunate for Pepe to go down there. Really capitalized on that first Zuka shot. Couldn't really find Nola with the second. And Power Clam still in possession by the folks of Glub. And enough time for Nolan to rebuild their Kraken while holding on to the Power Clam at that. So a stacking of specials coming out from the folks of Glub, but still no contact with the basket. Finally, only 1 Power Clam, though, making reach.
Is that all? That's not all they're going to get out of this, right? Yeah, they're finding ways to get through. Eevee
Really
doing
not.
a good job of taking the attack, starting to pincer from their own base. But Glub still getting below 60 on the opening push. Probably get a little bit more than that as well. That's very good out of your opening push. Not something you're going to feel super comfortable with over the course of the next 3 minutes, especially if you lose too many players to where you lose control of mid. That's what Prickly Pear is going to have to be quick to take advantage of if they can get a few more splats, which they do. 3 players going down, and Prickly Pear's got all the resources they need to take the lead right back.
Yeah, plenty of clams at their disposal to take it right back. Blop were holding at least onto 4. Eevee trying to hold up the side. A great bubble position there, allowing the jump for Shiny. That is a power clam going in and taking the lead, chalking it down to 27. Blop were trying to just kind of poke and poke and poke at the basket as much as they can. Unfortunately, though, only one of their clams making landfall. That is down to the 27 mark for Prickly Pear.
Look, I watched a lot of low ink sets. There's no denying that. The difference that you saw right there, Prickly Pear did not wait. They saw that they had a window to try to strike mid and take control of mid, and that is what they did. They moved so quickly, just like Glub is moving so quickly right here. Getting just 10 points away. They don't have any clams, but they can take the fight to the enemy basket. Maybe stall enough time for Keen to get there. They throw in one more clam before they get splat. The clams are right there, but they're not going to get it just enough in time. But still, all they need to do now, Glub, first off, is to stop this counter push. Look again how quickly Prickly Pear's moving into mid. Maybe a little bit too quickly that time around because Nolan's punishing all of it. Glub, as soon as they pop the basket, all their penalty points are gone, and they're just 7 points away from getting the lead.
And with ball in possession, no less here, it's kind of the defensive game for Prickly Pear at the moment. The strikes are really going to clear the opening here, though, as Nilla coming in to try to throw the ball, but they miss! So that is Nolan trying to come in with safe passage for Balloon, but it is only Nolan left standing in the Kraken, allowing a jump in for Keen. Keen is able to fight a little bit more. Balloon able to make safe passage as well. It's one more clam for the lead to be taken for Glub here with a few more from Nilla, but that's Eevee standing tall, waiting for the jump in to happen. Down to the 22 mark. We're entering the last minute of the game here, Popgun, and now the penalty being initiated on Big Dapple.
What the Bamboo tried to do right there, they saw clams that were underneath their basket because they splattered the player that were throwing in clams, and they said, if I gather those, we make a power clam, and they can't pick these up. But unfortunately for them, Nolan's Kraken was right there. They popped the basket right back, get the wipeout, and now they got all the clams that they need to get the lead or at least stall this one out. Here comes the Mercy Clam jumping right back in, yet again to another perfectly placed bubbler. We're going to a Game 5.
Oh my gosh, I almost jumped out of my seat there, watching Shiny blast into the sky like a firework with that final pity clam there. They knew as soon as they made landfall into that bubble that was game, set, match, and we're going into Game 5. That, oh my god. Okay, see, Prickly Pear is locked in. They are trying to get, or excuse me, Glub is locked in. They are trying to get Prickly Pear out of the running because they know that with Prickly Pear being the second seed, that this is their biggest op right now, trying to get to My Little Henlo. And now with Glub being on the counter pick, you have to wonder, what is it that is going to be locked in for the final game for them to try and close this set out?
So the final counter pick is what we're going to be waiting to
Power
come. By the way,
controlling
shout out to the the bubblers that kept getting put up on that little pedestal right there by Eevee's decaf, allowing for 2 separate Mercy clams over the course of that game to jump in and strike the basket right there. But it's really just the splats and the heads-up plays working out. Again, Prickly Pear, yes, did they lose control of the lead a couple of times? Of course. But it's how quickly they responded that made the difference. You don't really panic as long as there's still time on the clock. Whenever you have a window to where you have more players alive than the other team did. By the way, this is the play I was talking about. Oh, it cut off right before the Bamboo got eliminated. But the Bamboo was trying to essentially make a power clam that they couldn't use, but got splatted, so the power clam didn't form. However, enough talking about all that. The next game, Game 5, is going to be counterpicked by Glub. Both teams have won every counterpick that they've used so far in this set. And the rules are you can't go back to a map you've won on. and you can't go back to the mode you most recently won on. So for Glub, their most recent win was on Rainmaker. So they can't pick Rainmaker. The other 3 modes are still up on the board. You can't go to Mako Marts if you want to do Splat Zones. I guess if you wanted to, you could go to Bluefin Splat Zones just for the lulz. But I don't know how either team feels about that as we await the final counter pick.
It sounds like we need channel point redemption for Bluefin. There is one in there for Barnacle, but it sounds like there needs to be one for Bluefin.
We don't need one. Where did you get that idea?
Well, to me, it sounds like that's what the people want.
Well, who cares what the people want?
Okay, you're right. I forgot this isn't a democracy.
When did we start caring what the people want?
You're right. I'm sorry.
That's how you end up with Bluefin in map lists.
I strayed from the narrative.
When you ask other people, hey, what are your thoughts on this? I don't know. Put Bluefin
I went off
in there.
script.
Put
I'm
Hammerhead
so
in
sorry.
There. And it is
Nobody
Clams
listened.
at Museum.
Close your ears. Close your ears. You don't want to listen.
The Clamblitz Museum is what we're rocking with right here. That is the counter pick coming out from Glub in this Do or Die Game 5.
Okay, so something interesting, I feel like maybe for you Splatoon history buffs out there. Balloon comes from a team called Smoothie, or a belated team called Smoothie that is no longer together. And Smoothie, I believe, got 2nd place at LTC 2023. And Moonlight, which is Nolan's current team, got 2nd at LTC 2024. So it's kind of fun to watch these 2 people come together, kind of a meeting of the minds, a weird passing of the torch, or just like a similar, I guess, experience in finding yourself in podium at LTC on the main stage in the same way. And also playing against more or less the same opponent as well. I believe Starburst, excuse me. It was Starburst, I think, both LTCs for 23 and 24 coming out on top. So both of them having very similar Final Destination experiences with the same opponent.
Yes, both teams trying to channel their losses to Starburst into this Game 5 from 2 years and 1 year ago. Fair enough. The question is anything going to change? Not really for Prickly Pear, and no real surprises coming out from the side of Big Dapple as well. I guess you could say, well, actually, no. Nothing's really different. Okay, so who's going to make the flank? We do have one player. It's Keen making the flank, as is tradition here on the museum. And, of course, it's been about 3 years of this game being out, so everyone expects that flank. And, of course, Keen gets eliminated. So now Gulp's in a bit of a disadvantage of 4v1 until Keen comes back into the action.
Glub finding themselves at the disadvantage. They didn't buy the early ticket price, so unfortunately Keen, they did show up early. However, they showed up on the wrong day and were shut down by the folks of Prickly Pear in the neutral game now. But with Pepe pulling out the Trizuka, that's a little bit of help from Eevee, taking down 2 different members of Glub here. Prickly Pear in a great advantage to try to get some clams and pushing up.
Yeah, I don't know what Gloop's going to do in this situation right now, especially with Shiny starting to push up so they can... And Keen's really dedicated to making that flank work out. It's not going to work out, Keen. Give it up. Everybody else is starting to push up along the right side. Pepe's got a clam built up. Eevee's got another one of those annoying bubblers they can use at any point, but Nolan's going to have to burn through a Kraken right here to try to just chase some players away. And again, this Kraken seems just a little bit lost, so that Kraken's not going to be on line much longer. But Nolan's doing a better job outside of the Kraken. You absorb all those Zuka shots and win with the RNG of that thing anyways. Just a little bit different there.
Yeah, and you can see Nolan was trying to take up a fight with Blop, where Blop only landed 1 hit before Nolan was eventually the successor in that fight. But it didn't really matter because Prickly Pear is kind of doing their own thing on the backside of things here, down to the 54 marker. No other claims really to follow up. You can see Shiny has some in their pocket, but they can't really get close enough before that penalty reinitiates. However, 2 members of Glub are still down. This is still very much Prickly Pear's game.
3 minutes left to go. It's so frustrating when the enemy team scores on you and the push ends with them still in your base. Like, you don't even get the advantage of them getting mostly wiped and get control of mid. No, they're just going to pop the basket yet again. However, this basket being popped is probably going to work against them here. You're just giving it another mercy claim. You don't give it any penalty points. So now Gloop's got even more resources to start working with right here. 2 players down from Prickly Pear. This is starting to look pretty good for New York as they try to slip through right here. And the Kraken can, if Nolan can score, and then use the Kraken to create some space for their teammates. Look out, this will be lead.
And like you said, so it is written. Glorp taking the lead down to the 51, and Nolan popping the Kraken to hold it down and try to keep it open as much as possible, with Keen almost making a 3rd ball into the basket. Unfortunate shutdown by Gloob. Still a couple more points to go for Sunset Surge. They do have a power clam at the ready, though, and economy is high.
But even if you do score right there, that's an extremely risky play by Keen, because now you get wiped out during the push, which is the worst thing you can do. And look at the response from that. You get Prickly Pear in control of mid. You get them all these resources. They got 2 power clams ready to go. That was a very risky play, even if it worked out for them, which it didn't. Now, all you got to do is pop the basket and get the lead. Look how few penalty points they have right here. And
that's what they're going to do here.
Lead.
With an additional jump.
Another power clam thrown in. And look at this. Prickly Pear staying alive. So, yeah, they're able to set up defense things. They're absorbing the ink strikes that are being thrown out right there. They're weathering the storm. I like how Prickly Pear ended that push, keeping their players left alive. Big Dapple just put too many eggs into that basket. It might be too much for them to overcome right now with a minute left to go.
Well, it seems like, too, now that they're all kind of back at the basket, they can't really allow any more room, especially they can't let Eevee get set up right there, Popgun, because as we saw in the last push, there was 2 power clam jumps back-to-back getting set up there, and Nolan is quick to shut it down with the Kraken there, and with the bubble finally breaking right as the power clam is formed. An unfortunate little blunder for Prickly Pear, but still, Glub is finding themselves on the back foot. However, with 30 seconds left to go, and if they maintain the power clam, they will take us into overtime.
So they do have a power clam back there, so we will, as long as they hold on to it for the next 20 seconds, we will go into overtime. The problem is, are they going to hold on to it? Because Eevee is just going off and calling game right here, and now it's going to be the game ending with Prickly Pear might even be popping the enemy basket on them right now. So can they find a way to slip right through? I don't see a path to victory right here for Glub. A good run for them, but Prickly Pear's just too prickly. They end up winning game 5, and they're going back to grand finals.
Yeah, too pokey to handle for the folks of New York City. New York getting knocked out of the race for the LAN Championship Showdown. That is Prickly Pear of Sunset Surge in Arizona, following themselves back up into the winner's side of things to once again take on My Little Henlo, who previously, remember, when they played My Little Henlo before, were able to take at least 1 game off of them, found themselves in a 3-1 scenario, but now able to take the chance to run it back. We have the East versus the West here on SplatoonTourney.
Again, a good shout out to New York. Played absolutely fantastic, almost getting revenge against the team that swept them and knocked them down into the loser side of the bracket, but just flinched, got a little bit too greedy on their push to get to the lead. Ultimately, just completely surrendered control of mid and all the clams that were there as well. And Prickly Pear being so fast that they are with this comp that you don't traditionally think of with speed, able to move, get some picks, and just overwhelm Glub into that victory right there. And don't worry, New York. I think I saw a screenshot that there's some of you in a group chat right now. Don't worry. You still get to go outside. It's still 56 degrees and clear where you are. Unfortunately, though, in Phoenix, Arizona, it's a very perfect 70 degrees and clear there as well. So weather a bit better on the West Coast. Unless
a little weather.
Florida has something to say about it in grand finals.
Yeah, can you get us a weather report on Florida?
Sure. What can we narrow it down? Where do you want me to go? The Keys,
let's go,
the Panhandle?
Let's go where Gatorland was, which I believe was in Gainesville, Florida.
Gainesville, Florida. That would make sense considering it is Gators. Let's see. the current, well, actually, no. Maybe we'll tease it. Type 1 in chat if you want to know what the current weather in Gainesville, Florida is. Type 2 if you're one of those weirdos in chat who keeps asking what kind of shorts I'm wearing. So that our mods can get you out of this channel forever.
Are you
Thank
wearing shorts with your suit and tie?
No, I'm wearing pants.
I thought maybe you would
Over
want to
my
wear
shorts and my suit and
capris.
Yes, put me on camera right now. Just put me, just me. That works out perfectly. Thank you. All right.
So funny.
Anyways, there's mostly ones in chat. It is 76 and clear. High of 92. My goodness. How do people live there? It's still April, correct?
It's been
yes,
a warm
it's still
year.
April.
It's been a really mild winter, warm year for pretty much everybody. If we want to talk about weather.
Now here's my question. I'm assuming we're getting right into this one. Do we, because it is going to be Gatorland taking on. Now, my little Hinlow being a little bit of a break right there. Actually, no, that wasn't much of a break. That was just that one set that they had to wait out, and they'll get the rematch against Prickly Pear, the team that they beat 3-1